Hey, what's up? That kind of snuck up on me there. Ed Reiner here with your daily dose of mind stuff. So we are now on day 13 and going strong. Today, I found a video on a really, Bob would do seminars and he would ask everyone, and I'll ask you, how many of you think that if you just tried a little bit harder, you could do a whole lot better? He'd raise his hand and most of the crowd will raise his hand. And in this video I share, he might go over what I'm telling you right now. I don't remember, but that's fine. And then he brings out this book, U Squared, which is just a phenomenal book. There's a few books when I went through years ago through Bob's coaching program, his year-long coaching program. There's a few books that he gave. The first one was As a Man Thinketh, which he had a study which really causes you to start thinking and switch your mind around on how you normally start to think. And the other was, You Were Born Rich, his book that he wrote. And U Squared was another one. Now, the one that he holds up doesn't look like this because this is an older copy. And it's a short book. Really good. It's U Squared, a high velocity formula for multiplying your personal effectiveness in quantum leaps by Price Pritchard. Phenomenal book. So we're going to go to this video here of Bob talking about the U Squared, and he's going to read the beginning of it, which shows that hard work is not necessarily the answer. And another video I think we did, he talked about hard work. So this goes right along in with it. So let's get over to the video, share screen, and here we go.
You know, we got 58 years. It seems like a minute. Time is a funny thing. Looking back, 58 years seems like yesterday. Look ahead 58 years, it seems like it's never going to come. We play games in our mind. I was backstage and I was thinking of what this book has done for me. And what it really did, it enabled me or motivated me, I suppose, to change my way of thinking. Do you know, all the great leaders, all down through history, have all been in complete unanimous agreement on one point. We become what we think about. Now you hear that and a person immediately looks at their results and they say, well, I wasn't thinking about that. And they have a cold. I wasn't thinking of getting a cold. But if you check back maybe a month before they got the cold, they were probably wrestling with a decision. There was probably a lot of mental confusion. And they forget the fact that there's a gestation period for confusion to manifest on a physical plane, just the same as there's for a carrot to grow from a seed. They don't understand that. And so they discard the idea that you become what you think about, but you truly do. That's the one point all great leaders have agreed on. Now, I have found that leaders are readers. They really are. They love to read. I have a wonderful library. I actually have two libraries here. We've got one in my house and one in my studio. Now, the studio is only 50 feet from the house, so, you know, these libraries are not far apart. And they've made an enormous difference. I am frequently, if I'm interviewed, asked, what do you read? And then they'll say, what are the 3 most important books you've ever read? And I've always got the same answer. I said that Think You Grow Rich, As a Man Thinketh, and U Square. Now, I was very fortunate last night, as a couple of other people were. We had dinner with the author of U Square. How many have read U Square? How many have not? Boy, are you in for a treat. This is 35 pages of pure dynamite. I have been reading it for many, many years. Shortly after, I guess it was first published. It's just 35 pages, but it is without question one of the best books I have ever read. And if you're somewhere in Europe or in Australia or in New Zealand, this is the place where you can order this book. Put it up on the screen. There you go. Now, leave that up for a few minutes. I want to introduce you to Mr. Price Pritchett. Would you stand up? Give him a big hand. I want to personally thank you again. That book has done so much for me. And I always say I always carry one with me, but that's not always true because I usually end up giving it away, and then I haven't got one with me, and I don't have one with me right now. I give it away. I get telling people about it. They say, well, I think I've got one. And I usually carry one in my case because I was telling Price that I use it to inspire myself. If I'm working on a project, sometimes you'll get a little stale, and you need something just to jiggle your cells in your brain, I guess, and that book will do it. Now, if you have not read the book, you've got to order it. It's a thin little book. In fact, if you really want to do yourself a favor, order 2 and give one to a real good friend. Put a little note in it and give it to a real good friend. The universe will see that you'll be rewarded. You'll start attracting books. Trust me. I've been doing it for years. This is a thin little book. It's probably one of the best investments you'll ever make. A small investment. You got one there. Tommy's got one. You're a good man.
Hey, that's my signed copy. Don't give that away.
That's your signed copy. But I signed that. So it's got my name on it. This is the book. Price, I'm going to get you to sign it again for him. That's for Tommy.
Absolutely.
Tommy Collier has made a bigger difference in this company probably than anybody short of Sandy. He's our creative director. The guy does a phenomenal job. And so that's a book I gave him. But listen, this little book, it's only 35 pages. And as soon as Price is finished with it, I'm going to tell you how I sold thousands of these books. I sold so many of these books that one day this man phoned me. And he said, I was just wondering what you're doing. Because I would have people, some of them buying 100 books. We buy them by the hundreds. Corey was mentioning last night that we had our consultants in for a meeting. We sold 500 to the consultants. It's an incredible book. And there's 35 pages, all about quantum leaps, quantum physics. But it's not written for a scientist, if we have it now. It's not written for a scientist. It's written for lay people like myself. Thank you, Chris. And anyone can understand this. I was saying last night, I was talking to Price, I was saying, you know, it's almost like music, the way it's written. There's a rhythm to it. It's beautifully written. You are really great with words. Well, I would be speaking at a convention, and I'll do what I usually do. How many of you believe if you tried a little harder, you could do a whole lot better? Stand up if you believe that. Come on. Isn't this interesting? Okay. If you just tried a little harder, you could do a whole lot better. Okay, you can sit down now. Now listen to this. This is a true story. It's written right there, a true story. I'm sitting in a quiet room at the Millcroft Inn, a peaceful little place hidden back among the pine trees about 1 hour out of Toronto. He said, it's just past noon in late July, and I'm listening to the sounds of a life or death struggle going on just a few feet away. Dramatic. There's a small fly burning out the last of its short life's energies in a futile attempt to fly through the glass of the window pane. The whining wings tell the poignant story of the fly's strategy. Try harder, but it's not working. The frenzied effort offers no hope for survival. Ironically, the struggle is part of the trap. It's impossible for the fly to try hard enough to succeed at breaking through the glass. Nevertheless, this little insect has staked its life on reaching its goal through raw effort and determination. The fly is doomed. It will die there on the windowsill. Now, across the room, just 10 steps away, the door is open. 10 seconds of flying time, and this small insect could reach the outside world it seeks. With only a fraction of the effort now being wasted, it would be free of its self-imposed trap. The breakthrough possibility is there, and it would be so easy. Why doesn't the fly try another approach? Something dramatically different. How did it get so locked in on the idea that this particular route and determined effort offer the most promise for success? What logic is there in continuing until death to seek a breakthrough with more of the same? No doubt the approach makes sense to the fly. Regrettably, it's an idea that will kill. Trying harder isn't necessarily the solution to achieving more. It may not offer any real promise for getting what you want out of life. Sometimes, in fact, it's a big part of the problem. If you stake your hopes for a breakthrough on trying harder than ever, you may kill your chances for success. It's such a phenomenal story. And then I tell them, that's only one page. There's 35 pages in here, and each page tells a different deal. I'll share another one with you. This is one I love to read. I'm just going to read a part of it. Most people operate with a mindset that assumes success comes one step at a time. That's the way most people think. Success comes one step at a time. The unspoken but popular notion is that we must move systematically from our present level of achievement to the next. Then the thinking goes, from that stage, we can begin working towards graduating to still the next higher level in the sequence. Gradual progress. This is an unfortunate misconception. And it's clearly reflected in the way most people function. They go about day to day striving to make incremental gains in their performance. That's pretty routine. That's the pathway of continued growth. But your life simply does not always have to operate that way. Advancing at a measured pace, step by step, from where you are to a higher level, ordinarily feels easier, most natural, and even safer. But in certain areas of your life, you can just as easily think in terms of skipping levels. You can move from your present level of achievement to one that's several stages higher directly. You can make the quantum leap. You become U squared. Instead of accepting your present circumstances as being or being content with gradual progress, you can go for a breakthrough. I love this part. U square implies an explosive jump. in your personal performance that puts you far beyond the next logical step. It's a formula for stunning advances in achievement and the realization of your dreams. The concept is one of exponential gains rather than incremental progress. You might compare it to multiplying instead of adding. It means a geometric progression in your effectiveness. That's exciting as well as provocative, but it gets even better. Remember, quantum leaps come without apparent effort. They're high velocity moves that carry you to dramatically higher performance levels without time-consuming struggle. Quantum leaps seem to violate common sense utterly. The idea of moving to a higher orbit or skipping several rungs on the achievement ladder in the process strikes people as far-fetched, maybe even outrageous. After the fact, quantum leaps may be viewed as practical, sensible, even obvious moves. But they typically do not come to you as the obvious moves at the moment. Usually it's in retrospect that you perceive their hidden logic and elegance. Invariably, quantum leaps are not complex or intricate maneuvers. They tend to be simple, energy efficient, and time-saving. You square the quantum leap strategy, that means you square your performance. Think of that, square yourself. You deliver these special dreams and ambitions that instinctively feel should be yours. But the breakthrough demands a radical departure from some of your habits. That's just 2 pages I've read. There's 35 pages. Now, I don't know where you're living, but there's the address. Look at it. Now, Tommy, you're going to be rewarded for bringing this up to me. If you want to come and get it back again, or I'll keep it, because Prices autographed it for you. You see, it's reading that. I've read this book thousands of times. I was having difficulty here with the lights, but it's such a valuable document. It will stretch your mind, and that's what you have to do. If you want to change outside, you've got to make the change inside. The outside is a reflection of the inside. Now, while I was reading that, thoughts were running across my mind about making this quantum leap. Yet you might be thinking, I'm just an ordinary person, I'm just a young gal or a young guy, and I don't know all this stuff you know, Proctor. Look at, when I was 26, I had 2 months high school education, I had a bad work record, I had a bad attitude, but I committed that I was going to do what this man told me. In 12 months, I was on the fire department in a suburb of Toronto. The chief was only earning $11,200 a year. The chief, there was only one chief. In 1 year, I took my income working part-time while I was still in the fire department to $14,500 a month. Now, there's another side to that. I was afraid to quit the fire department because I thought there was security in a job. What a dummy I was. If you think there's security in a job, you're toast. If you lose your job, you're going to be totally demoralized. You've lost everything. If you haven't got it inside, you haven't got it. You know how to get it? Study this. Read this. Burn it into your mind. That's how you change your life. That's how I changed mine. And I made this quantum leap. I didn't know enough to know how to make quantum leaps. I didn't know what quantum meant if you had brought it up. I didn't know very much of anything. I just knew do this, do that, put one foot in front of the other, keep going. And at the end of the year, that's where my income was. So if you would annualize that, I'd taken from 4,000 to 175 a year. Now I hadn't earned 175, but if you annualize the monthly income, that's what it would come to. If I could do that with the shallow level of consciousness that I was operating with at that time, I believe anybody can do anything. I really do. If you don't own this book, for God's sake, get it. But get two. Don't get one, get two. Get a dozen if you want. But we ordered them. I usually have a drawer full of them. I haven't got any in my drawer, Gina. Gina fills the drawer for me. In my studio, and I give these away like candies to kids. And I've never given one away where people didn't thank me after they read it. So get a couple and do what I did with Tommy. I wrote a note in this. What did I tell him? Please go to work, Tommy. No, I put to Tommy, you're the best. Much love and light, Bob Proctor. And I gave him this book. It's, and then Price wrote in it for him. But it's that kind of a book. So that's the address. We'll put it up again later on. But I don't care where you are. You're somewhere in the world, go to that .com. Pritchett.com/U square. It's U square, U and a 2.
Wow. Amazing, amazing book. In listening to Bob reading that, I started looking through some more of my copy there. And I mean, this is something I've got marks in here. There's highlights all over. And I opened and I came to this spot, which I'll go ahead and read this because we went over on a previous video lesson on the 2 things that you know to succeed, 2 things you know to do anything that you want to do in life. We had said 1 was you have to know where you're at, and then 2 is you have to know where you're going. And this one here, or this popped in my head too, is the different goals that we set. We talked about the ABC levels. The A is knowing you know how to achieve it. It's something that you've already done. The B goal is something that you think you can do. And then the C goal is where we stretch. And that's where we fantasize and use our imagination on what we really want to go after. And a lot of times, most of the time, people don't go after those types of goals because they don't know how they're going to get it. They let the how stop them. And this talks on focusing on the ends rather than the means. And that's why it's important that you don't need to know how you're going to do it. You just need to know what you want. That's the key. And most people don't ever think of what they want. They just go through life and think, I just want to do a little bit better. I want more. I want to try harder. So on this, Price writes on here in this chapter, you don't have to know how you're going to get there, but you need to know where you want to go. It is crucial to have a crystal clear picture of what you want to accomplish. So it can't be fuzzy and it can't be general. It's got to be crystal clear what it is that you want. And then you want to operate with a sharply defined mental image of the outcome that you seek. Rivet your attention on that spot where you want to land at the end of your quantum leap, and then visualize your arrival. When you do that, it's like you magnetize yourself to the ways and means involved in the methodology for getting there. So what he's saying there is don't worry about how you're going to do it. Focus on what it is that you want. And this is something that Bob teaches, that we teach at Proctor Gallagher, is figure out what you want and then focus on that end. It's like Neville Goddard says in his books, is you think from the wish fulfilled. You're always thinking from the wish fulfilled. You have that crystal clear image. You have to have a crystal clear image, and then you focus on that. And as you begin to move, all the plots, the plans, everything that you need starts to appear. See, what happens is most people, they run into that terror barrier because they step out to do something, and because they can't see the resources, the things that they're going to need, or know how they're going to do it, they bounce back into safety, into the comfort zone, into bondage. So we need to move with faith and go after what it is that we want, focusing on the end result as if it's already happened. And then everything that we need, he says, it magnetizes. Everything that we need is attracted to us at the time we need it. That's where the faith comes in. That's where you start to move and you follow your intuition, and something will happen as you're moving. And the things that you need, the plans, the ideas come to you as you start to move. This is something that I'm actually this month, I'm going to be reading this and studying this on a daily basis. This is great. Why? One of the reasons I'm doing these videos, if you're new with me here, is this is 100 days of what I call mind stuff. All of this, the stuff that we're going over is all mind stuff. It's all stuff that expands your mind, expands your awareness, causes you to think differently than you think. And as Bob just said, we become what we think about. So we better be thinking of what it is that we want. And this is how I like to kind of start my day, is watching videos like this or reading and just studying. So as I do this, I pick up things and pick up ideas. So now from watching this, the idea that I have for this month is I'm just going to study this book. This is going to be my book study. Have been studying psychocybernetics for the past month. I haven't been on it every day like I want to, but that's okay. But this is the kind of book that has such good information in it that you can read it in a sitting. So it's one that I can either take a couple of chapters or just take the whole thing and set some time, and this will be my study for that day, is just to read that. Through that repetition, those ideas will get into the subconscious mind, and it'll spark other ideas of what it is that I'm doing. Because right now I'm moving towards a big goal. I'm moving towards that C-type goal that I want to achieve. So the plots, the plans, all of those things I don't necessarily have yet. I'm just moving forward. That's why I started this whole series of 100 days, is to get me into action, get me committed to doing something every single day that's going to move me closer and forward. And as I'm doing this, things are already starting to come to me. Over the past 14 days, things have already came. So you want to figure out what it is that you want. Go to that address that he had on there, or just type in Price Pritchett into Google, U squared, find out where it is, and then just pick up a copy of this book. It's absolutely phenomenal. I've read it many times, not near as much as Bob has. He says thousands. It's probably a lot more than that. Get it. I'm going to be studying this whole month of September. So I'll probably refer back to it again with you guys as ideas come. But we're going to leave it there. It's almost at 30 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. I want to thank you for joining me. Once again, if you like this or found value in this, please share it, make some comments, and I will see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great one. It's Ed Reiner. Peace.